Hey everybody, welcome to episode 41. Today's episode I'm going to talk about my favorite Marvel comic book character of all time, and that's She-Hulk. Pull up number one of the sensational She-Hulk here. Let's hold it up for a few minutes here so I can get my title screen. Other than that, I'm going to kind of go through, not really necessarily her history per se, but I'm just going to touch on a few things. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I could probably go into 5 episodes on just She-Hulk. So I'm just going to give you my my initial reaction when I first discovered the character, and kind of how that went throughout the years, up until today. I'm going to touch a little bit on the TV show that was on Disney Plus. I'll touch a little bit on the current comic that's out right now. Just give you my opinions on it, really. Like I said, most of my reviews, when I talk about these comics and I go through them, they're not really reviews because I don't really have anything to review. A review, to me, is like, it's something I'm going in kind of non-biased and I'm giving my honest opinion. I like almost every one of these comics, especially the ones by Byrne. Some are better than others, some are a little weaker. Sometimes the art is better than others, but by and large, I pretty much like all of them, so I can't really give you an honest review because I like the character so much. Like I said, up until 12, 13 years old, I think my favorite characters were, I loved Batman as a small kid, and then of course, when I discovered the X-Men and Wolverine, he was my favorite. But like I said, once I hit puberty, I shifted gears, and I pretty much liked only the ladies, the female characters. And not to say that I don't like the male characters. I think they're fine here and there. I like all the X-Men. I like, we'll talk about Fantastic Four, and she's in here. I like the Fantastic Four. But as far as my favorite characters, the characters that when I see, my eyes light up. And I get excited when I see that character. Rogue is definitely one of them, but probably first and foremost is She-Hulk. And she wasn't always my favorite, but she kind of became that way. So I guess she wasn't my favorite female character of all time. I think Rogue was first, and I think She-Hulk was kind of like the girl who kind of took over for Rogue when Rogue went through the Siege Perilous, and I thought she was gone forever. So I kind of I was like, oh, it's like, who's left? Oh, She-Hulk. So then I liked She-Hulk, and then when Rogue comes back, obviously, spoiler alerts, she comes back. Trust me, you obviously know that by now. Rogue does. She didn't really. Rogue changed, and Jim Lee changed her. And in the 90s, Rogue changed, and, obviously Gambit being the picture was another rooster in the henhouse for me. So, I kind of stopped liking Rogue. I mean, I didn't stop liking her, but she kind of switched gears, and She-Hulk became my number one. So, I've got, like I said, I'm going to go through Savage Shield too. I'll probably start with that when I switch over to the CBRs here on the screen. But for now, I don't have every Byrne issue, but I've got pretty much all of them. I've got number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. I think I'm missing number 5. Yeah, I'm missing number 5 or it's not in the right spot. Don't have all of them. I've got the number 6. I'm sorry. I guess I got 2 copies of number 6. It happens, see. I got number 7, and then I think that's pretty much where my She-Hulk physical copies stop. And then of course we're probably gonna go to this after we go to just touch a little bit on Savage She-Hulk. But for now, obviously who's going to be the new character? Little question mark there. Who's going to be the new character in Fantastic Four? And like I said, this was right around this time that I started collecting comics, so that's another why it kind of hits a special spot in my heart. I love that cover. It's a classic cover. Obviously, I don't know if you've seen my icon. Probably you have, but you can tell it's very, very similar to that. Just kind of superimposed myself. I did a full drawing of this with the She-Hulk, and then me in there with the comp, going through the... Wasn't really... He had like a centerfold, but I had like another gag to do. And then I had that drawing on a separate layer from the She-Hulk layer, so I ended up taking that layer off and making it my icon that I use, my avatar icon, whatever they call those, with the little thing you always see in the boxes and circles. But, and then we've got a few other classic issues. I don't have all of the Byrne issues either. These are just some of the ones that I have. I got the key ones. Like I said, that 275 is a key issue. The first appearance, or not first appearance, but that 265 where she's, where they want to know who's going to be the new Fantastic Four member, the fourth Fantastic Four. And then this one, it's funny. I remember getting this. Obviously, this is a newsstand copy. This is not my original, but I got the original of this, and I didn't even realize at the time. I think when I got it, that was the 25th anniversary. When I started seeing the other 25th anniversary, I just noticed this on the outside, but I think, I don't know, I guess I kind of glossed over the cover when I got to it. And then here's a classic one I had. That was a good one. So, I'm going to go through a few of the CBRs. I'm going to go through some of the key issues and kind of tell you what I was thinking at the time. But first and foremost, let's go back to something that I was not around for. I mean, I was around for it, obviously, I was alive. But I wasn't into comics at the time. And it kind of... it's not that it went unnoticed. I think I might have seen a couple of the issues here and there, on the newsstand, but never really paid much attention to it. And of course, they've gone back and found them and read them. And like I said, I got CBRs of all of them, or in collected works. But let's switch over to number one. And actually, before I go through that, I'm not going to dig it back out because I showed it to you before. But another thing I think, like I said, that kind of solidified my love of She-Hulk, and especially in that Fantastic Four costume, was the character cards for the the TSR Marvel Superheroes role-playing game, and then she showed up throughout the player's book and stuff, and she's always was in that costume. And then she showed up in I think it was the one with Murder World with with Arcade. She showed up in that module. And so it was all kind of going on at the same time, but that was some of the other stuff. I mean, obviously there's like I showed it to you before, the Marvel Universe, illustration done by John Byrne that was in the Marvel Universe, drawings like that and stuff. But I'm going to go through this one here. So the one thing that's of note on this is, one of my favorite comic book artists of all time is John Buscema. And it's funny because I love this first issue, and I love the way he draws. I even love the way he draws Jen there. I like the bob haircut. I like it's definitely a John Buscema face. Somebody online said that most of his females are all modeled after Raquel Welch. Or is it Sophia Loren? No, Sophia Loren. That's what it was. And I could see that. This person in the video, I can't remember the name of the video, who did it, but he also kind of superimposed a face of his over Sophia Loren's face. And, a perfect straight-on shot, and really matched up. The cheekbones really are what gave it away. But yeah, I really like his female faces. I mean, I like everything. I like his Hulk. I like his dudes. I especially love the guys with the beady eyes. And I love his. And obviously, he worked on. He didn't write it, but he did work on the art and the how to draw comics the Marvel way. So he draws the Marvel way. I mean, pretty much spot on almost every time. and you can really see his work. You see it in this one too. A lot of the angles and stuff. Um, it's also funny. Like I said, I think I mentioned this before. It's weird when you saw a Marvel comic and it took place on the West Coast and it wasn't in New York. It was always kind of weird. Um, kind of refreshing. Sometimes it's San Francisco, sometimes it's Los Angeles. Uh, but so, you probably, well, if you don't know the story, because they kind of goofed it up in the TV show, but Bruce Banner has to give her a blood, and there's this mafia people that are trying to. She's a lawyer, obviously, you guys know that, and then this hitman goes to try to take her out, ends up shooting her. Banner takes her back to his place. Or is it his place, or he just breaks into somebody's house? I can't remember. But it breaks into a doctor's office. I think that's what it was. And then gives her a blood transfusion. Not sure how blood transfusion fixes a bullet wound, but this is Stan Lee we're talking about. He wrote this, and I got a point about Stan Lee when it comes to the Savage She-Hulk comics. But he gives her a blood transfusion. Obviously, his gamma radiated blood gets her the powers when she turns into the She-Hulk. And of course the Savage She-Hulk is when she starts out, when she doesn't have control over the power. I think she's got control over the power. I can't remember. I haven't read this in a while, but I think she can't control her anger. Can't control the Savage part of her. Which obviously changes later on when Byrne takes over. I think it actually kind of changes in these comics too. Like I said, I haven't read them all the way through. But again, there's that John Buscema, I really like his profiles of She-Hulk. I like, just look at this is what's cool about the Masters, which, obviously was lost in the 90s on the Image crew and most artists, and I think is lost today, is, these are orderlies, right? These are big dudes. These are probably, 225, 250 pound dudes, probably 6 foot plus, 6'2". These are the orderlies. That's what their job is to do. Not obviously these are guys, but they're supposed to be orderlies. And again, if they're mafia heavies, they're heavies. They're big dudes. And so, and you can tell that Jen looks small. She looks like an average sized female in comparison to these big beefy dudes. And then when she turns into the She-Hulk, I can't really tell it there so much, but there are two different panels, but you can tell her size. Look at how long he draws the arms, how long he draws the legs, how thick he draws the legs, shoulders. She looks like she has weight. Look at her arm there, and the way she stands on, her stance there. She looks like she has weight, and that's a perfect example. She's standing in front of an elevator door. She's 6'7", which I think they also got wrong in the TV show. I think they made her taller than that. But she's 6'7". I have a friend who's 6'7", and he's tall. He's a big dude, but he's not like, I guess you could consider a giant, but he's not freakishly, well, he's a little freakishly tall, but he's not freakishly tall. He's not a basketball player or somebody who's well over 7 foot. He's tall. And she's 6'7", so you can see the size of her without drawing her. She doesn't have to be ripped with muscles. I guess this goes back to, like old school wrestlers and stuff, and how they weren't perfectly cut. They were just big dudes. Times have changed. Everything's hyper. Everything's hyper. I'm trying to think of the word. Everybody's cut, everybody's ripped, everybody's hyper defined. But back in the day, a big guy, a big strong guy, or even a big strong woman, was just big. They were heavy. They had big hands, heavy hands. Big feet. Longer limbs usually. They're big, thicker, heavier people. Even if they're overweight, they're still big and thick. And like I said, he really did her justice here and made her look like a big person. Like a 6'7", rampaging, green woman, with this crazy wild hair, which I always thought was nice. I love this. Yeah, it's typical John Buscema right there. You see it in her face there. Yeah, it's a great Buscema face. Also a very, very Buscema face, even as Jen Walters. She got the eyebrow cocked up. There's that in-between look. So I loved it. I mean, I thought this looked great when I first saw it. But he only did the first issue. And, the other guy, I can't remember his name, is off the top of my head, who took over the other issues. He's not bad either, but he's not as good as Buscema. And I think it's weird because if you juxtaposition this She-Hulk, the Savage She-Hulk, and you put her up against the She-Hulk that she did in the She-Hulk he did in the Avengers later on in the 80s. He gave her more curly hair, which I liked, but he kind of, I don't know, he didn't. I know he was doing just some of the breakdowns, and there's other people doing some of the finishes on those, but wasn't as good as this original Savage She-Hulk that he did. But outside of those later issues of the Avengers when she was in it, after she left Fantastic Four and before she had her own title, Sensational She-Hulk in the late 80s, this was pretty much it for Buscema doing the art for it. So again, I just wanted to touch on that issue there. So let's skip forward to when she joins the Fantastic Four. So drawn by John Byrne. So John Byrne, I think she shows up at the very end of this, because I think this is the whole Trapster trying to break into the Baxter building. I think it cuts to it just cuts to the back of it. So at this time, also, Secret Wars was happening, and that's when I jumped on comic books, especially Marvel was with Secret Wars, and these comics at the time. And so She-Hulk was, she was in Secret Wars, and then when she came back, she was there with Reed Richards and Johnny Storm. So when she comes back, she's like, well, I guess she's going to be the new Fantastic Four. So because Ben goes off and does his thing for a while, and that's when she started. And like I said, I love the things I love about this costume. I think outside of any other costumes, I love the contrast of the white against the green skin. I mean, obviously you got white on Reed Richards or on the Thing, or even Sue Storm, whatever, against the regular Caucasian skin tone. But when you put this white against the green, it really stands out. I think that's also what really is appealing about like the Hal Jordan Green Lantern, was that green, contrast against white. We had the white gloves, white boots, and so I love this white. I love these jumps, these like leotard suits that she wears too. Obviously it's a play off of the Fantastic Four uniform, but she's going to show some leg and some arm, which is part of the appeal of her. I would say probably 50% of the appeal of She-Hulk is her sexiness. Again, something that they don't really do today. They kind of, comics have gone through a change, social. I'm not going to get into all of that, but social change and whatever. But and they did some things obviously that were supposed to be sexy in the TV show, and then but I think it was just pulled off so awkwardly and heavy-handed, and wasn't really sexy. But if you ask John Byrne, why he likes to draw She-Hulk and why he wants to draw She-Hulk, and he says in that interview on the Sci-Fi Network, I can't remember what the name of the show was, but he says because she's a babe, and he's right. I mean, that's why everybody likes her, and I would say that's most of her appeal. I mean, most of the comic book readers up until a certain point, I would say probably up until the 90s, were predominantly men, and predominantly men read these comics, and her appeal was the exoticness of her being green. It's just always neat to see. It goes back to the Orion slave girl from what's that show called? Star Trek. I forgot Star Trek. The Orion slave girl in Star Trek, or the green girl on Lost in Space. I think just the green, sexy female is really, really appealing. So you've got that. You've got the fact she's built like a shit brick house. She's huge. She's 6'7", full of muscles. And speaking of that, remember I was talking about Byrne draws her heavy. Buscema drew her heavy. Byrne doesn't draw her as heavy. He does make her definitely more muscular. I think it's just the way he draws in general. He puts more muscles into her. But at the same time, he does draw her thick and tall, with longer joints. This is kind of a worm's eye view. So this is kind of a weird angle to see her at here. But so let me go back to the costume here. So anyway, I love the white against the green. I love the blue with the green. I mean, everything about this costume is great. I don't mind the purple or that kind of magenta, outfits. She has a few magenta outfits. I'm not talking about the more latest one, when I say latest, in the 2000s, still 20 years old. But you know what I mean, that later costume. This is her classic magenta costume, or whatever color you want to. Sometimes it's purple, sometimes it's magenta. That also goes for her skin tone. Now this is chartreuse. Actually, take it back. This here is apple green. So I'm not going to pull the palette back up from my thing, but I can't remember what Doc Martin number this is. But this is what's considered. It's like the mid-range green, the in-between green of the yellow greens, not of the more grayish greens like the willow, and I can't remember some of the other colors. I call them that because there are certain colored pencils or markers that kind of have the same hues to them. But with the Doc Martens, they had a specific number. But this is more of what I consider like that middle green, and I like it so there's that minty green in the background. This is not the yellow green. So here's the yellow green, and this is I like the more chartreuse, which was the lighter of the yellow greens, and then of course there's her hair always is that dark green, and her hair, her lips, her eyes. I've drawn She-Hulk a lot of times, and I've done lots of She-Hulk parody comics, and I've worked on She-Hulk a lot. Or sorry, I haven't worked on an official copy of it, but I've done a lot of parodies and fan art of She-Hulk. So, I kind of got her down to a science. My She-Hulk is kind of a mishmash of my style mixed with a little bit of Byrne, a little bit of Buscema. I kind of take, it's like a salad bar, you take what you want, you leave the rest. And I kind of try to incorporate as much of these various versions of her into my She-Hulk as possible. So, but again, that's my favorite costume. And then she ends up joining the Fantastic Four. So I'm gonna skip ahead to this issue. Like I said, this is a classic issue. Now, what's weird about this issue too is this is by Byrne. Who inks this? A guest inker, Al Gordon. He's a guest inker, and he does not do that great of a job. He's not terrible, and this hair looks weird, and I can't. There's too much black there. I can't imagine that Byrne drew that hair. Even her body looks a little different. This is funny. This one, she's sunbathing topless on top of the Baxter Building with Naked Truth. And then this helicopter shows up out of nowhere, and they're trying to get a story, trying to get pictures of her. I can't remember what it was. Kind of ticks her off, and then she I was trying to get pictures of her. And then she leaps after the helicopter. I just love her just devil-may-care attitude. She just goes at it. She just doesn't really think. She just acts, and I like that. She just jumps in. Obviously she could survive this fall, but at the same time, she kind of just goes right at it. What's she gonna do? Are you gonna kill these guys? It's just weird. I don't think she thinks things through very well. But yeah, I don't. It doesn't look like Burns. It looks like Byrne here. She punches through the helicopter. But it just looks weird. It's got to be this guest inker. I think he kind of butchered Byrne's stuff. I mean, Byrne does do things like that. Throws her through walls and stuff, which is pretty cool. And again, so here's something I want to make this comment regarding the TV show. And I guess more so when we get into sensational She-Hulk. But if they wanted to break the fourth wall, not break through the fourth wall like this one, but anyways, you want to break the fourth wall, and do that and go for that angle, right? That's fine. But the thing what Byrne kept in the comic, in the sensational She-Hulk, which the TV show doesn't do very much, is he really loads it up with action. He loads it up with some absurd action, and everything's over the top now as far as absurd action. So you think they would have done more, thrown her through walls, thrown her through buildings like that, just really kind of went nuts with the character and, put her in crazier situations. But obviously it must have been a budget problem, I would assume. Sure it was a writing problem, but I think also it was probably budget constraints. They probably couldn't afford to spend. She was CG to do all that CG of her, doing crazy action like you'd see in like a Guardians of the Galaxy or an Avengers. So they kind of had to work with what they had. And again, I'm not going to say that I hated the TV show. I think that the girl, what's her face? What's her first name? Miss Laney. Yeah, her, the girl. Who plays She-Hulk. I think that she's very attractive. I think she's got a lot of character. She's got a lot of charisma. I like her personality. I like even her sarcasticness. Even when she's going off in her man-hating spiels that don't seem to be very in character for She-Hulk. Like She-Hulk would never. She-Hulk was man crazy. And she was kind of man crazy in kind of a dopey kind of way. Just because she became She-Hulk didn't make her, she had the personality of Jen Walters. And Jen Walters was very, like, I want to date. And she kind of had like that attitude of like Irma from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like, who's going to be, who are you going out with? She was really into that. And, it was a different time, obviously. But, it didn't translate well. It came off too abrasive, I guess would be the best way to describe it. I guess it's sign of the times, but do people really, are all women really that, man-hating? Maybe they are, I don't know that many of them anymore. Now that I'm old, nobody really talks to me anymore, so I don't really talk to a lot of, outside of my sister, doesn't count, my ex-wife doesn't count. But, I don't really talk to a lot of women, especially women in their 30s. I did when I worked at a certain job, but I didn't really get into discussions about that stuff. So, yeah, maybe that's how women are nowadays. Maybe they're like that is. Obviously, probably more so in cities like Los Angeles and New York. Maybe not out in the sticks where I'm at, but I just found it abrasive. I just found it off-putting. I don't even if that's what they wanted to do as a character arc, which, you can do anything as a character arc, it just becomes off-putting. Part of the charm of She-Hulk is that I like her character. I liked the fact that she's kind of dopey and she was kind of, didn't think things through and, kind of impulsive and, she acted like a dude because she was written by dudes, and I'm a dude, so I like the chicks that are written by dudes that act like dudes, but not dudes. Does it make sense? That's a class. This is classic. Usually puts her right on the line of the page, which most professionals or if you read like any of the books on how to draw comics, don't put the character right on the panel border. But Byrne always drew her stomping off I don't know, she's always stomping off like angry, but she always walks to the side of this profile. This isn't the best example of it. Like I said, that inker kind of, I think, butchered it up a bit. But and I've done the stomp off, the She-Hulk walk off the panel type of thing. And but he usually does her like right on the panel border. Of course, in the Sensational, when she starts breaking the fourth wall, she'll start literally walking across all the panels, which is pretty funny. But see how big she draws her? I mean, this guy isn't a huge guy, but this guy's probably 5'8", 5'9", Just a regular average-sized dude. She towers over him. And she's thick, Thicker arms. Her head is big in comparison to his head. She looks like a big, big, big girl. Like I said, this kind of like tee-hee look. I just lifted this. I mean, I like that kind of innocence, kind of naivete that she had. At the same time, she was, she could get mad, she'd curl an eyebrow up and she'd, the inner bitch would come out. But she was playful about it. She was always playful about it. Obviously she was mad in this issue because they were trying to take pictures of her. And then she goes after the guy himself here, the guy from the cover. The guy who runs the Sleazy magazine, The Naked Truth, and then, the Office, all the magazines everywhere. It's a mess. And then She-Hulk. I think she comes as She-Hulk. Yeah, she comes as Walters. Oh, that's Walters there. I didn't recognize her with her hair up. Oh no, she's got short hair. I don't remember that. Huh. Alright, well anyways, so she shows up and then she ends up hulking out. She takes the safe, wads it up, and then throws it through, and it goes through like all of the... She knocks his toupee off too, and throws it through the stuff. See, I mean, I like this kind of like, her, kind of getting even with like the chauvinist guy, but she does it in a playful way, She doesn't try to kill him, She doesn't try to, she humiliates him, knocks his toupee off, I guess she could have killed somebody dropping the safe through here, but, she's just kind of giving him a message without being really heavy-handed. Yeah, so there's that issue. Let me cut to... Before I cut to the Sensational She-Hulk, let me just touch on this really quick. This was a graphic novel, part of that those Marvel graphic novels that were out in the 80s. I don't have a current copy of it, but I had it. I think I got it at Comics Corner on Auburn Road there in John R. and Rochester Hills when Comics Corner first opened up. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. It's by Byrne, and it's written by Byrne, I believe, too, isn't it? Yeah, written and penciled by John Byrne. So it's pretty Byrne-y. And it's a graphic novel, so the artwork's going to be stepped up a bit, but it's pretty good. It kind of takes her on like this, crazy wild story. There she is doing the walk off. It takes her into the, I think she goes into the Shield, Shield helicarrier. First, I think the Mandroids, or I think they're called Mandroids. Wow, yeah, she's definitely drawn sexy in that. Yeah, the Mandroids, they end up showing up. She dukes out with them for a little bit, and then they end up getting pulled up to, I think it's pulled up to the helicarrier? Is that what happened? I can't remember. Yeah, it was a Shield helicarrier. And then, he really draws her butt differently in this than he normally does. Look at those calf muscles, too. That's amazing. He really cranked it up in this graphic novel. It had a lot more detail and lines to it. Yeah, it's the helicarrier. It's a pretty crazy drawing of it. But yeah, it's great. I love that. I love her hair there. Her hair's perfect right there. I think that's how I like it the most. It's big, giant, big 80s hair, but at the same time has some style to it. And it's wavy, it's a little bit curly. That's right, she takes her clothes off to kind of catch everybody off guard there. take her into the thing. I think, yeah, they drug her up. See, so here again, look at, these are S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. I mean, these guys are supposed to be trained, agents. So they're, they're not huge guys, but they're, in good shape, probably 6 foot tall dudes, in good shape, maybe 5'8", between 5'10", 6 foot tall dudes, in great shape. And look how big she is compared to them, You can see it really well when they're carrying her. But again, she's not like 9 feet tall. She's not 10 feet tall. She turns back to Jen there. But there's the walk off again. But it was a pretty good. This is a fun book to read. It's a fun graphic novel. It's a self-contained story, and it doesn't really super pertain to the regular series. I think they mentioned a couple of times of it. But I just like his airplanes look really good too. But it's just a fun story. She has just a purple kind of outfit. I think this cool like kind of open front with some kind of like collar here. She puts on the white gloves and boots. I mean, that's a cool look too. Anytime she puts on like the white gloves and boots, especially those, I just like that style of boot too. It's just like that nondescript kind of boot, comic book boot. It's got a little bit of a heel, but not really much of a heel. I can't see it having any traction. It's not like a sock, It's not like just a white sock. I mean, it is a boot. But yeah, like I said, this is just noteworthy to look at. He really, really, really throws the fan service in this one. And that's the other thing that today's comic books miss, is I miss the fan service. I just want to see some... It doesn't have to be gratuitous. It doesn't have to be every other panel or every other page. I mean, just throw some in, little wink, wink, nod, nod, It's Tuesday. They're cutting along. But yeah, it's a little bit of a nod to that, here and there. It is I've seen some. I mean, there's sometimes DC seems to do it a little bit, not a lot, but they do it a little bit. And there's I've seen a couple of shots in modern comics, but it definitely isn't great. I love, again, he's using the line. Actually, take it back. The line goes up a little bit. The floor would be more down here, but I like the blocking of that panel. Doing the old. Just keep repeating the thing. It's like Byrne knew how to do all the tricks. And Byrne's the one that got paid to do like 5 or 6 blank pages in an Alpha Flight comic with Snowbird because it was just a whiteout. He knew how to get paid. Let's just put it that way. He knew how to get paid. And when he's doing 3 or 4 comics a month at the same time, I mean, he had to pull out every trick in his magic bag, and there he is there. So yeah, he knew how to get paid. All right, let's skip ahead here. What are we on time? 38 minutes. Okay, let's try to kind of wrap up this She-Hulk. I mean, like I said, I could go on forever about She-Hulk, which I'll try not to do. But this is the John Byrne collected John Byrne omnibus. This isn't. I think this is volume 1. This isn't a CBR of the actual comic, but I'm going to go through it. Actually, I'll touch on they did this Marvel Comics Presents 18 with She-Hulk. This came out after number 1, so because Thing is drawn differently. But it's great, Doctor Doom. I'm not a huge Doctor Doom fan, but see what I mean? He gives you a little bit of fan service. Magneto shows up, and then Galactus, and I did a parody of this in my stuff, and didn't have the same outcome, but it was kind of it was kind of using the same gags as this one, but just kind of a different situation. Let's just put it that way. Here's number 1. So John Byrne doing writing and penciling. So that, they left him alone. I mean, they let him just he got his own book. He could write it and draw it and do what he wanted to do with She-Hulk, and that's what he did. And it's amazing. All his stuff on this comic is classic. It's amazing. And he really knew. I think this was in the Marvel Universe. No, it couldn't have been. This was '89. It couldn't have been in that one. It's a very similar panel. There's the Ringmaster here. There's her kind of Avengers outfit that she had when she was on the Avengers. This is coming out of the Avengers. So, it's a shot of kind of a flashback from the Savage She-Hulk. She disguises her. I always thought this girl was really appealing. I mean, it's She-Hulk, but she's just the look of this character. She's kind of disguised, so nobody knows she's the She-Hulk. She's like the strong woman. But this is a fun story, and they transition into not the Anti-Men, the Headmen, which are like all these different guys that have different heads and stuff. This kind of bad guy group. So they kind of transition from the Ringmaster and I can't remember what her name is, Python, Lady Python or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, like I said, then she transitioned. And there's Ruby Tuesday. I always thought Ruby Tuesday. Obviously, she's attractive because she's got the legs, but she's got a ball for a head. I guess you can't say that she's a looker. She's just got a ball for a head, but and it's kind of like ball that kind of like has these hands and stuff come out of it. But I thought it was just an appealing looking character. I've used her a lot in some of my stuff. I did a parody of this one too. There's so in this basically what's her face, Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. She gives her penthouse. She gives her her penthouse apartment to stay at, and like her full access to her full wardrobe, which strangely enough fits Jen. I can't remember how that was explained, but this kind of crazy couch that was there. And I think that in the newest comic, I think she comes back and has the same, stays at this place again. But I always thought this was a cool apartment as a kid. Now, I couldn't stay up this high. If this was on like a ground floor, it'd be fine, but I can't go up that high in buildings. But there's Ruby Tuesday. So it was amazing. Like I said, I mean, she's in a dress, right? But it's stunning the way she's drawn. The new comic, even when they put her in a dress, she's not stunning. And it's been done by multiple artists too, and it just doesn't have the appeal. I love those red pants. Yeah, I did a spoof on this with the Toadmen. Again, I took his joke and kind of went my own direction with it. And put that in there. He was doing a lot of this photostatting in to save time, which I think looks kind of... I don't like when he does that. I know why. Yeah, obviously he's doing this. He's trying to, make deadlines, but I wasn't a big fan of that. Yeah, I took it. So that was a classic comic. Sorry, I've gone past number 1. I was just going to show you number 1. But I kind of wanted to show you the Headman because it's kind of a funny issue when they end up taking her head off, supposedly. And it's like Ruby Tuesday, but they're there and her head's talking. She realizes, oh, I'm not on my body anymore. I'm in this little, thing over here. You can see how Ruby's powers work there. And then he tries to put there's her head in the thing. Spider-Man's in this episode, and she's looking at her body, going at it here. And it's funny. I think how they explain this, how this happened, is with it's a comic book, right? You don't have to explain what happens. I thought it was pretty funny too. But I was reading it too, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on with this? And it's like, no. Yeah, he kind of says, I can't remember where he says it. Somewhere around here. I think Spider-Man asks it, I think, or something like, hey, so how did you get your head back on? I think it's still... I can't remember. I think here's where he says, hey, how'd you get your head back on? She just kind of explains it as in, like, it's a comic book. Which is kind of funny. Yeah, if you ever back yourself into a corner and you can't figure out the logic behind a comic, just, you can always fall behind it's a comic book. It's comic book physics. There's the stomp off again. I could keep going with this. But, like I said, I don't want to... I made an hour video yesterday talking about music and stuff, and I don't want to go too in-depth in here. Like I said, basically, like I said, I came across She-Hulk, again, as she was, getting into when she got into the Fantastic Four. So I was there for this, and as was for this series, for the graphic novel, and then into the 90s, as most people did think, most people forgot about her. Because I remember when the Heroes Are Born, I kind of started to a little bit get back into comic books with Heroes Are Born, and I was like, where's She-Hulk? I was like, I don't see any She-Hulk. And then it wasn't until, I want to say, into the 2000s to where they brought her back. I think Frank Cho had a lot to do with her. And then, what's his face, Dan Slott had that limited series. It was like an ongoing series. It didn't last super long, but he had that series going, and I wasn't a fan of that, and I didn't like his version of She-Hulk, and I only like I said, I don't really like the Savage She-Hulk that much either, because Stan Lee, he said that, he said, well, there's only so much you can do with this character. It's basically just a female Hulk. Well, yeah, that's what you created it, Stan. That was your whole point. And so he kind of felt like the character had no story, and there was no, very limited, so he kind of gave up on the comic. And it wasn't until Byrne came along, and Byrne basically outsmarted, Byrne kind of outsmarted Stan Lee and said, hey, I'm going to take this character you thought was a dead character, and I'm going to do something with it. And he did. He made it this funny character, that's likable and, and sexy, and he basically made her what she is. So when it comes to the She-Hulk, for me, it's the Byrne She-Hulk all the way. I think Frank Cho did a pretty good job with it. I love those drawings that Arthur Adams did in the Long Shot series, but for me, it's Byrne. And especially with, this sensational, I don't really like and if it wasn't Byrne doing the issue, then I really didn't pay much attention to it. I pretty much just like his version of her. So, that's my She-Hulk. Like I said, talking about the newer comics, like I said, I've tried to get into, I read almost every one of them, and I just the story's going nowhere. It's like, I don't want to, how many times are they going to sit around and eat? It's just like, this issue they're getting pizza, this issue they're getting bubble tea, and apparently the writer, I can't remember what her name is, she's really into her food. Because that's all it seems that She-Hulk ever does, is she just goes, let's sit down and share a pizza for 6 pages. Let's go share a bubble tea for 6 pages, and I'm going to tell you a story. It's just like, show, don't tell. Don't just sit around and have her, for an entire issue, talk about stuff. Have her do stuff. They had this fight club that they're kind of putting together in it with Titania and Thing and everything. Do more with that. Take Titania and put her with She-Hulk and make them kind of have to go, bond. They don't like each other, or they like each other. And have them go on a crazy, zany adventure in another galaxy or something, or another dimension, or something like that, where they're fighting crazy, absurd, monsters together, and, and they kind of have to work together to get through it, and, they bond, or maybe they just they don't get along at all, and they just totally, just fight the whole time, and have that drama, whatever it is, I think if they're gonna, they're having her kind of have this relationship with Jack of Hearts, and I don't mind that. I forgot all about the Jack of Hearts until he popped back up. I was like, I totally forgot that character existed. But that's kind of a weird relationship that they have, and I don't know, it just seems odd. He seems really mousy and really. This doesn't even seem like the actual Jack of Hearts character. And if they want it, the lesbian thing is popular today. Let's make everybody lesbian. Well, then how about you have her, get in a relationship with Titania? That would be funny. I think I would read that. I think that's got appeal to it. At the same time, it would have a lot of comedy. I just think there's a lot more that they could be doing with the character. I'm glad to see that she has her own book, and that's nice. But, and as far as the artwork on the new comic, it's just, there are a few good artists out there. I think the person currently doing the Avengers is good. I think there's a couple other good artists right now. It's just like, stick a good artist on her book for a while and have them stay there. But I understand how the business runs, and I understand how the business runs today. And it doesn't make for good comic books. And I don't even know if it makes for good business, because if you don't have, at the end of the day, if you don't have good comic books, you're not going to have good business. So I don't know what the mindset is. You can't let these creators at Marvel, most of them are young, but don't let them get that self-indulgent. I think they need, say it out once, say it 100 times, they need a Jim Shooter there to crack the whip and say, hey, you lazy sons of bitches, get back to work and redo stuff, and we want this, and really, you need a tyrant there to crack some skulls and make things happen. I think it's gotten way too self-indulgent, way too just this weird, culture that seems to be going on in just young people in general seems to be pervading into, companies like Marvel and stuff, and a lot of other companies, and it's just like, I'm not going to get into the social justice crap, and I don't really care about that stuff. I mean, I don't care to comment on it, and I don't think that that's the problem. I don't think making every character gay is not the problem. Race swapping or the diversity thing. I don't think that's the problem. I think at the end of the day, and this comes across the board, it comes down to good writing. And I find that a lot of the people who work for these companies seem like amateur webcomic creators. Sometimes they've got some good stuff, but by and large, I don't think they're they don't seem to come across as professional, and they don't come across as as well seasoned writers. I mean, even take an example like Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont wasn't well seasoned when he started writing X-Men. He was young, but he was good, and he wrote it, and he stayed on that book for such a long time. You've got other artists or other writers that started out young. I mean, what's his face? Speaking of Jim Shooter, he was like, 14 when he wrote his first comic book? They were young people, but they knew how to write, and they knew how to create, and they knew how to do this stuff. And sorry, not that you have to see my face, but yeah, you need to. These people need to do something. If not, if the medium is dead, if the print medium of comic books is dead, which I think it is, I would double down on the digital. That's what I've done. I don't print anymore. I was going to print, and I've been debating about printing, and I've done print in the past, and it didn't really work. So I've gone 100% digital. I think these companies could go 100% digital, but just give us better stories. I think I haven't given up on it completely. I still tune in every week, and check out what's out there, and give things a shot. And it's just I don't see anything that's really knocking my socks off or really appealing to me. So, I mean, like I said, once in a blue moon I find an artist I like. Once in a blue moon I think a book is written pretty well. But it's definitely, the minority of books out there. So that's what I want to say about that. Again, as far as the She-Hulk TV show, I was really excited for it, but I knew that they were not going to do a good job. It was destined to not be good, and I knew it going in. And it's not me being defeatist. I mean, my pessimism has absolutely no bearing on what actually is being created. I mean, the world's not magic like that. I can't think it to fail. People say that stuff they're freaking out of their mind. But I knew it. I mean, I could smell it, I could sense it, I could feel it in my gut. It's like I knew this was going to fail. I knew it was going to be, what it was, and I just think that they missed opportunity. Sorry, they had an opportunity. They didn't miss the opportunity. They missed the opportunity to make it good. And again, nothing against the people that worked on the show, even the writer. I don't think that the writer is good, but I'm not going to speak ill will of the person. They gave it their shot. That's probably their best shot. And I hope I hope they gave it their best shot. I hope they didn't phone it in. And if that was what their best shot was, you swung and a miss. Or you struck out. And that's okay. If you do a job and you don't do that great of a job, you always look for somebody to do a better job. So, again, I don't really care about the MCU anyways, and whether or not, I don't. It doesn't really. The whole MCU just doesn't appeal to me. I just find it kind of pointless in the first place. I know it's to make money, and I know all that stuff. I'm not an idiot, but I mean, for me personally, it's just like I don't care about it. So, I'd rather the comic books be better, and and if the art form is dying or the medium is dying, then just let it die, or try to evolve it into something else. I don't think sequential art. I hate using that term, but I think using, pictures with words, I don't think is a dying medium. Obviously, as web comics, there's still comic strips. Memes. Everything's a meme nowadays. I mean, it's essentially still, pictures and words. So that I don't think will ever die. But they're just gonna have to do something to breathe life into it. And if they want to, attract more people, or maybe it's doing fine. I don't know. I can only guess. I only look at what other people say, and I look at some of the numbers, I look on GraphTran, stuff like that. I don't know how accurate those are, but I look at that stuff and I think to myself, okay, maybe it isn't failing. I don't know. It's definitely not doing like it used to do back in the day, but again, there's a lot more distractions and the world's changing. So, sorry, I'm not going to keep rambling on this. You kind of get my point, but I just know that She-Hulk's my favorite comic book character, and yeah, it's, like I said, I'm going to enjoy the stuff that's already been created, and I'm going to try to create been doing my own stuff with her character. If you want to check that out, hit me up. I'll send you links. I'll tell you where you can get that material. It's definitely, I'm doing something definitely that Marvel is not going to do with the character, and my fans like it, my customers like it, so I'm going to keep doing that. And again, I just think that, yeah, comic books are just going to go through probably a big change in the next few years. I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but I think it's going to change. I mean, maybe it won't, but we'll see. Other than that, remember to subscribe if you like this stuff, and help me get those numbers up. But other than that, I will catch you tomorrow and with something. Maybe I'll try to do some more comic book stuff. I don't know. Try not to go Tron crazy. I got an album, I think, coming in the mail that I ordered on Discogs. I might mention that one. Toys right now, and there's nothing. I have only a couple of things on pre-order, and they're not coming until like September, so it's gonna be a while for those. I think one at the end of August. Snake Mountain comes in the end of August. I'll probably do a video on that. But other than that, I'm kind of keep going at what we're doing here. So, all right, I will catch you tomorrow, and take care. Bye-bye.